Welcome to the next lecture. We are going to be doing two projects. The first project will simply just be adding to what we did in the previous content. We are putting more variables. That's what we are working with. And we just want to show how other variables can actually be used and how we display them, and include one new variable which is the boolean. So we can have a float variable that we can call num f for number float, and we then put it equal to 14.25478. We can also have a double, num d for number double is equal to 58. I'm just putting numbers at random. The next one is the boolean, so we just simply put it as bool, and then we need to put the number. Actually, don't put a number for this one, we just actually put a true or false. So boolean just takes two values, and then from there we also want to have a string, and our string we want to call it my str, like that. And then we can put any number of characters that we want, because it's a string, so it gets a full string. So we can say learning C++, like that. That then becomes our string, and this can be something that we use and work with until we get to where we want to get to, based on the content that we actually want to be working with. At the same time, these pretty much will then be our main variables. We've actually worked with our int, we've actually worked with our character. So these are some of the variables that we can as well add. Although as we go along, we'll work with variations of our variables and see how we can be able to implement them and work with them in a way that is suitable for us. So we can still have our original variables, which was int. We can put it as c equals 12. We can also have our character like we had before. We can call it j is equal to g, like that, which still then means we've got exactly the same content, and we can actually display each of these elements individually. So for the first one, we can actually say, I'll edit this hello world, and we'll say float value, like that. And then outside of that, we put just our variable, which is num f, like that. So we just need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements. So I'll just copy this and paste it 5 times, then edit it so that I can actually put it for you guys to see how it's going. Okay, like that. Maybe let me just align it proper so that it looks a little bit better. And then we'll just edit the contents inside. So we can have the opposite of boolean, false. Boolean true gives us, I think it should be 1, and then false gives us 0. So this then becomes a double. In fact, let's just run it to verify. This becomes our boolean. Let's just make sure it matches. This becomes our my string, my str. This becomes our C. Int string. Then the last one becomes our character. So these we already know, but I just decided to add them so that we can see how all our variables pretty much work, although any extras will return to them in the following programs. So here's what we actually get. We'll actually find for the float value we got the input that we put. For the double value we also got that input. For the boolean value, which is true, we got 1, so I was right. For the string value we just got learning C++. For the integer value we got that value, we got that value. That's fine. And if you remember last time I just told you that if it's close together like that you just need to put a space. So let's just actually put one extra where we are showing what the opposite of our boolean value is, and then we run it and then we see how that works. I'm just adding lines there so that we see it in the next one. So we can simply also change num.bool within is equal to false, like that. So we can just copy that part for the number boolean, we paste it, copy it, we paste it there, and then we just see what the new value is. So if I run it now, we'll be able to see everything, and then you actually now realize that the last line gives us the opposite of the value, the first boolean value. So the first boolean value was 1, the next boolean value is now 0, so we are good to go. Let's actually make the next project, and this project becomes a little bit more on operators. So we actually say arithmetic operators. Okay, so these would need to have at least the simplest program possible. So let's see how we can do this. Okay, we'll simply create two variables, I and j, where we would want to initialize them and say I is equal to 45, and we say j is equal to 16 rather. I put 16. So we'd want to actually just see how these elements work, and we'll put the simplest is our cout. We have our content inside where we say it's addition, like that. We would want to add our two values. Okay, so then say our addition is I plus j, gives us our answer, and we put our end line. Then we do the same for all the other operators that we have. So we can copy that at each stage we change the value. So it's subtraction, the next one would be the next operator, which is multiplication. Then the next one will be our division. The next one would, I forgot to actually change that. Let me just change it. The next one is our modulus. The next values, I think let's actually do them outside of the printf, rather the C out in this case. I was thinking we're still doing C. So we say at that point we want I plus plus, and then at that point we want I minus minus, like that, so that we can see what each of these elements gives us. So if we run it, we'll be able to actually see the following. We are saying our addition gives us that value, our subtraction gives us that value as well, multiplication, division, modulus, this should be increment and decrement. I forgot to change that. So increment gives us 46, decrement gives us 45. So it is working proper. So all you then need to do is maybe just change that back to increment, and also change that to decrement, like that. So our program would be done. So we'll end our lesson here. See you in the next lesson.